Now, the latest from ITV News Meridian with Sangeeta Barbara and Fred Dinage.
Good evening and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines here in the south. A mother tells a court she begged mental health experts to section her son. He's now on trial for stabbing a pensioner to death in Sussex.
A vile voicemail message.
You are vindictive, you are unpleasant.
The call made to a campaigner whose teenager died under the care of the troubled Southern Health Trust. But who is responsible?
Battling cancer in a unique way, the Pompey pirate has become an internet sensation during his treatment.
And a unique keyboard collection goes up for auction for those with a good ear and deep pockets. Good evening. The mother of a mentally ill man on trial for murder has described how she repeatedly pleaded with the authorities to section her son before he carried out a frenzied knife attack on Sussex pensioner Donald Locke.
Linda Daly told the court she raised concerns about her son Matthew over 10 years, but mental health experts failed again and again to take the action needed to protect him and the public.
Daly denies murder but admits the attack, claiming diminished responsibility. From Lewis Crown Court, Charlotte Wilkins has our report.
Matthew Daly looked visibly upset as his mother took the stand to give evidence. Linda Daly described how she had raised concerns to doctors and had pleaded for him to be sectioned many times over the last decade to protect himself and others. Mrs. Daly started to cry as she described how the last 10 years had been difficult. We were never given a proper diagnosis and we were never listened to, she said. She described how her son often heard voices in his head, sometimes 20 to 30 at a time. And in the weeks leading up to the incident, he had increasing periods of anxiety. He was close to being on the edge. Rising debts and a relationship breakdown also meant that he was left distraught. On the day of the incident, Mrs. Daly said she woke up with a sick feeling. She couldn't put her finger on it, but felt agitated that something was going to happen. After hearing about the incident on the news, Mrs. Daly finally managed to speak to her son on the phone. She asked him, "Have you done something?" He replied, "I've killed someone." Matthew Daly is accused of murdering 79-year-old Donald Locke by knifing him 39 times on the A24 in Findon near Worthing on the 16th of July last year. The court heard that last week the chief executive of the Sussex Partnership NHS Foundation Trust wrote to her family apologising, saying the care for Daly should have been better. Mrs. Daly said it came 10 years too late. When asked, Linda Daly agreed that the day her son allegedly killed Don Locke was the day that all her nightmares came true. Matthew Daly denies murder. The trial continues. Charlotte Wilkins, ITV News, Lewis Crown Court.
In other news, a burglar from Basingstoke who was involved in a high-speed police chase has been jailed for 5 years for burgling 2 houses. Daniel Malcolm, who's 37, stole a car, keys and cash from a house in Buckskin in February. He then took a motorbike and televisions during a burglary at a house in Pack Lane.
2 24-hour strikes next week on Southern rail services have been cancelled. Instead, there will be a 24-hour walkout on May the 20th if no agreement can be reached between the rail company and the RMT union. The dispute centres on the role of conductors on trains.
Voters get the chance to go to the polls tomorrow. In some places there are local council elections.
Everywhere, though, there are police and crime commissioner elections, and our political correspondent Phil Hornby reports on what might happen here in the south.
It's 12 months since the Tories unexpectedly won the general election. A lot has changed since then. Some things haven't.
Yes, he's been on a whistle-stop tour of the places where Labour did well yesterday, and he's stopped off here in Southampton. It was a stunning victory here.
The last time these council seats were up in 2012, Labour did well. So well that Ed Miliband rushed to the South Coast to be interviewed by me. He probably wishes he hadn't.
We've also got people, I think, who thought... We've also... Oh, right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Labour could have egg on their face tomorrow. Southampton now looks vulnerable. They could lose control. And they could get washed away in Crawley. Jeremy Corbyn went there last November, one of his first visits to our region. The Tories need to gain just one seat to win power here. David Cameron has high hopes of making gains elsewhere, in Portsmouth and in Hart. In both places, the Tories could take overall control of the council. All Lib Dem eyes will be on Eastleigh. Will they continue to dominate the council? And can Tim Farron's party begin the long road to recovery elsewhere in our region? And what of UKIP? They've made council gains in recent years across our region, but after their disappointing general election results and a year of splits and infighting, is their bandwagon still rolling? The council elections aren't everywhere, but everyone does have a vote in the police and crime commissioner elections. These are powerful positions, the public's link with the police, the people who set the overall strategy, the people with the power to hire and fire chief constables. Last time they were held in November and turnout was very low. Independents did well, winning in Hampshire and Dorset. The main parties will be hoping that changes with a higher turnout tomorrow. These are unusual elections. They've passed almost under the radar. For once, May elections are not dominating political life. Everything is overshadowed by the next time we'll all go to the polls, the referendum on June the 23rd.
Well, Phil joins us now from Westminster. Phil, unusual you say, so when we see those election results on Friday, what should we be looking out for?
Well, Fred, normally you'd expect the governing party, the Conservatives, to be losing seats tomorrow and the opposition party, Labour, to be winning seats. However, as I said in my report there, and as Ed Miliband will remember well, in 2012 Labour did very well, so to make gains tomorrow they're going to have to do better than that. And then there's the Jeremy Corbyn factor. Very popular amongst party members still, not very popular amongst his MPs here. Tomorrow we'll find out just how popular he is with the voters. As for the smaller parties, it's just as important for them too, particularly the Liberal Democrats. They've really got to start some kind of recovery in these local elections in the south tomorrow. And UKIP, of course, people always say the bubble has burst. Well, has it burst? Nigel Farage tells me he's confident of doing well tomorrow. So big day of local elections tomorrow, but the really big one, the referendum, well, that's 7 weeks tomorrow, and campaigning for that will really start full throttle next week.
We shall wait and see, and Phil, as always, you will tell us. Thanks very much indeed. More news. A report looking at the benefits of a new road tunnel near Stonehenge has been welcomed by environmental groups. The National Trust, Historic England and English Heritage believe removing a large part of the existing A303 and replacing it with a 3-kilometre tunnel would bring environmental, cultural and economic benefits to the area.
A road in Bournemouth that was closed because of a landslip has reopened today. A section of East Overcliff Drive was shut after last week's collapse. It's still being closely monitored. Work to clear the debris at the bottom of the cliff will begin soon.
Well, a Navy veteran from Portsmouth has become an internet sensation after taking something of a novel approach to being told he has terminal cancer.
Yes, Craig Bryden goes along to his chemotherapy sessions dressed as a pirate. A photograph of him was put on social media when he caught the bus to his first session.
And 500,000 people saw it, so our own Andrew Pate joined him for session number 2.
When he was told he had terminal cancer, this Navy veteran decided the best way to deal with it was as a pirate.
A lot of people just crumble and think, oh my God, I'll get cancer. And just, once your mind goes, you can start spiralling sort of downwards. I thought, nah, if you walk down the street as a pirate, especially children, go, Mum, Dad, look, there's a pirate. And it puts a smile on people's face. And that's what I want to do, is just make people happy. And it lifts my spirits as well.
This is Craig's second chemotherapy session. It was on the bus on his way to his first that he started talking to another passenger, Courtney Jones. She asked if he was on his way to a fancy dress party.
I explained that I was coming up to QA to get my first chemotherapy. And I said, yes, I've got terminal lung cancer. Oh, I says, I want to put a smile on people's face. She asked to take a photograph. 22 hours later, 500,000 people had seen it. And it's going to become the Pompey pirate.
56-year-old Craig says he can't quite believe the worldwide response.
I never ever imagined in my wildest dreams this would have been the response. Getting a friend request from Kazakhstan is not the everyday occurrence on Facebook.
Doctors at the Queen Alexandra Hospital are delighted. The main tumour on Craig's lung shrinking after his chemotherapy session. The positive Pompey pirate saying he's determined to be an ambassador for happiness. Andrew Pate, ITV News, Portsmouth.
Wishing Craig all the best. Well, you are watching ITV News here in the Meridian region. Coming up.
Counting down to the Queen's 90th birthday celebrations, expert tips on staging the perfect street party.
And for all of our stories, you can head to our website, itv.com/Meridian. You can call us on 0808 1010 095 or get in touch via Facebook or Twitter.
Southern Health has promised a full investigation after an abusive phone call to the mother of Connor Sparrowhawk, who died while in their care. Sarah Ryan discovered the message on her work answer phone and reported it to the police.
Well, the caller claims to work for Southern Health before calling Mrs. Ryan vindictive and unpleasant. Here's an extract of the message.
I work for Southern Health, and it's awful that you've lost him. I'm so sorry that you have done, and it's tragic. But I do think you're being very vindictive. I think you're a vindictive cow.
Well, we can speak to our reporter Sam Holder, who's been following this story. Sam, the person says they work for Southern Health. What's been their response?
Yes, as you heard, the person who left the message claims to work for Southern Health, and the Trust say the voicemail is deeply concerning. They're promising a full internal investigation. The message was actually left on Sarah Ryan's work phone last Friday, but she heard it for the first time yesterday and posted it online. Mrs. Ryan has been at the centre of the Southern Health storm. Her son Connor Sparrowhawk drowned while under the care of Southern Health in 2013, and she's been a vocal critic of the Trust since. Her investigation into his death led to the discovery that hundreds of unexpected deaths weren't properly investigated. That resulted in a Care Quality Commission report voicing serious concerns about patient safety and governance of the Trust.
And Sam, this message must have been particularly distressing for Mrs. Ryan.
Well, yes, we spoke to her earlier and she told us she felt sick and horrified at the voicemail. We can actually hear a bit more of just how offensive it was.
I do think you're being very vindictive on TV all the time, slating the NHS, Southern Health. You know, with your background, it takes a while to make changes in anywhere. You want some attention, but you are vindictive and you are unpleasant.
Well, this afternoon, Thames Valley Police confirmed that they've started their own investigation. They say the message has been recorded as a case of malicious communication.
Sam, thanks very much. In other news, police patrols will be increased at Gatwick Airport to deal with disruptive passengers. It's the second year of Operation Disrupt, which runs over the summer months. Last year, it led to dozens of passengers being refused transit. Being drunk on board an aircraft can lead to a 2-year jail sentence. The campaign begins next month.
Well, staying with airports, and last summer the Airports Commission delivered their report favouring Heathrow over Gatwick for airport expansion. It was then over to the government to have the final say.
Well, 10 months on and still no decision, which according to the Commons Transport Select Committee is a squandered opportunity.
Well, earlier I spoke to Hugh Merriman, who's on that Select Committee, and I asked him why he thinks the government are taking so long.
Well, the government has asked to be given another 6 months so that it can assess the impact largely of noise and air pollution and see if that can be mitigated. Ultimately, the reasons they gave us were to make sure that by taking 6 months that it didn't cause another couple of years in the courts if they didn't take the extra 6 months.
Your committee wants Heathrow to get another runway, doesn't it? I mean, are those your views as well?
Well, the committee in the last term of Parliament investigated this at length and decided on balance that Heathrow, whilst being the higher risk option, was the higher return in terms of the rewards. So Heathrow remained its favoured option and the report has restated that, albeit in fairness, we didn't really hear much evidence on the either Gatwick or Heathrow. It's more focused on whether the government should make a fast decision and get the shovel in the ground. And
from a personal point of view, are you happy with that?
Well, I can see the benefits of Heathrow because it will be the international hub airport, and it sort of looks over 60 years that it would deliver £147 billion worth of investment. Gatwick, it is less so, £89 billion. But then again, Gatwick would bring sort of huge regeneration, certainly into the constituency that I serve. Ultimately, we've got to make the best decision in the national interest, but also the fastest decision as well.
You see, Gatwick have come out and said they're astonished the report ignored things like the worsening air quality in the UK, which has repeatedly halted Heathrow's plans. Do you have sympathy with that?
Well, I do, but also the report has made it clear that in parallel to a decision being made, then matters such as air pollution, noise pollution can be mitigated at the same time. But equally, the government took a view that if it made a decision and, say, for example, went for Heathrow, when some of those matters hadn't been looked at, then we could be in judicial review for years. And it's important that we get this right so that we're not in the court process for years. Terminal 5 took 8 years from the planning application being made to the end of the inquiry, and we can't have that all over again.
So how long then? I mean, the government has indicated nothing will happen before the referendum. When's it going to happen?
Well, I mean, we've been told summer 2016, and as you know, we can have long summers in this country. I would like it to be as early as possible because, the key part of the committee report is that we need an airport, the shovel in the ground, so that we've got the runway capacity for 2030 because we'll run out by that time. So if we don't get on with it soon, we won't have enough airspace in the UK, which would be a disaster for us from a productivity basis.
Hugh Merriman, good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
It's almost 18 minutes past 6 and the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. Here's Mary Nightingale.
The government climbs down over taking more unaccompanied refugee children. David Cameron had been coming under pressure to accept another 3,000 youngsters already in Europe. Trump's cruise to take a big step towards securing the US Republican presidential nomination. And
Ida Keeling at 100 years old.
Find out why great-great-grandmother Ida Keeling is proof that age is no barrier to being a record breaker. We do join Mark Austin and me for that and more at 6:30.
We will, and talking of record breakers, the Invictus Games for injured servicemen and women begin in Florida this weekend, with athletes from right across the South flying to the US today.
And before setting off, some of those taking part were put through a morning workout with Sir Ben Ainsley at his Land Rover BAR headquarters in Portsmouth. Sally Simmons was there.
ITV Meridian Sports Report, sponsored by WeWantAnyCar.com, the Cash for Cars website.
It's 7 a.m. at the headquarters of Land Rover Ben Ainsley Racing, and in their gym, time to flex those muscles. If you're going to race one of these at 70 miles an hour, you need to be super fit. For Sir Ben Ainsley, sport, sailing is his whole life, his passion.
Sport's an interesting race. It's about taking part. It's also about the win. Crikey. And it's how hard you want to take that. You know, some people are hugely incredibly competitive, and everything is about winning. Other people just love, maybe, other people just love being out there and competing, and the camaraderie of sport as well.
And joining in the camaraderie today are athletes heading to the Invictus Games, the event for injured and ill military personnel.
It's awesome, the banter is flowing.
Is it repeatable?
No, unfortunately not.
For Vicky from Fareham, sport has given her renewed focus after 3 leg operations and being medically discharged from the army. Lucinda from Petersfield teaches sailing, so meeting her idols has been such a treat. The former army major suffers from chronic fatigue.
Well, I was bedridden for a while and I had to redefine what sport was for myself. And sport for me then became going for a walk for 2 minutes outside the house. And now you can see I'm training for the Invictus Games, and I never thought I'd be at this point.
The encouragement between the sailors and the Invictus athletes has been amazing.
No effort too small, no weight too big. Prince Harry has just launched this year's Invictus Games, which takes place in Orlando. At the same time, Land Rover's BAR crew will be racing in New York, 1,000 miles apart, but the goal for both sets of athletes is to do their absolute best. Sally Simmons, ITV News, Portsmouth.
Good luck to them all. Meanwhile, the GB sailing team heading to Rio is now complete as the final 4 places were confirmed today. In the 470 class, Luke Patience, who won silver in the 2012, has had his selection confirmed with new crew member Chris Groob. And Weymouth's Dylan Fletcher and Alan Syne make their Olympic debut in the 49er class. The pair have sailed together for over a decade but missed out on selection 4 years ago.
Now, as you may know, there's going to be a huge party in central London next month to mark the Queen's 90th birthday. And organisers want us all to follow suit and hold our own local street parties to coincide with the celebrations.
Yes, in 2012, thousands of roads were shut, closed off and tables laid out in aid of the Diamond Jubilee, and it's hoped there'll be similar scenes during the weekend of June the 12th. But we're being reminded there are rules and regulations, as ever, when it comes to hosting our own street parties, as Matt Price will tell us.
A delve into the archives proves just how popular they are.
3 cheers for the Queen!
Dozens of people turned out in Poole for a traditional street party, a celebration of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee in 2012. Simple but effective, a community gathering together to mark a historic event. On this street, evidence of a Christmas party still exists, but the focus now is on this summer's celebrations.
We've got a skeleton of the kind of activities we want to do, and we've actually beginning to get a bit of a timetable together as well.
Becky Holdstock is in the early stages of organising her event, a chance to bring the community together.
We know a lot more faces now. It brings out older people onto the road, all ages, all ethnicities, all come out and join together for that one day.
In just a few weeks' time, on June the 12th, thousands of people are expected to host their own street parties, celebrations to coincide with the Queen's 90th birthday. Gabby Solly runs a website which offers advice on how to safely host a street party.
We could put cones along there, some bunting. You can use the space on the road, the space on the pavement.
And believes anyone can get involved.
Maybe you can get together in somebody's driveway on a bit of pavement where it's a bit wider, and maybe take up 1 or 2 car parking places in somebody's front garden. If you live on a cul-de-sac, you can just use the end of the cul-de-sac. So there are lots of ways that you can do it in a less formal, easy fashion.
But there are some rules which have to be obeyed before hosting an event. You must tell the council about the party and list any buildings which might be affected. Permission must be sought before closing a road. Some authorities might even provide cones and signs to help. It's normally okay to drink alcohol, but if selling it, you'll need a temporary events licence. And it's always best to check whether insurance is needed. If you're not like Becky and haven't started planning yet, take this as your 5-week warning. And why not join the nation in celebrating on June the 12th? Who knows, perhaps your party will also make the TV archives of the future. Matt Price, ITV News.
Lovely.
Wonder where that baby is now.
It's me. Meanwhile, historic musical instruments costing more than £500,000 are to go under the hammer at an auction like no other in Newbury.
Well, the pieces are being sold by Finchcock's Museum, which closed at the end of last year. Tom Savides has been to see what's on offer ahead of the big sale this month.
This Portuguese harpsichord dates back to 1785. One of only a handful in existence today. It's a unique and rare instrument with a price tag to match. It's estimated to fetch between £50,000 and £70,000 when it goes under the hammer.
So how much would you pay for this harpsichord?
To me, it's priceless. I can't put a price on an instrument that I've loved playing for over 10 years, and it's obviously very sad to see it go.
99 historic keyboard instruments are being sold by Finchcock's Museum in Goudhurst, which closed at the end of last year. If all the lots go at auction, they could raise more than £500,000. Auctioneer Will Richards says there's already a lot of interest in the pieces ahead of the sale at Donington Priory in Newbury on the 11th of May.
There's been interest from all around the world, a lot of interest in Asia, where collecting pianos and early keyboard instruments is really taking off. We've got interest from America, and a lot of European private collectors and public institutions have been interested. So far, very encouraging.
The contents of the museum, including fine art, ceramics and fixtures, are also being sold. If you have £50,000 spare, how about this Louis Volders painting?
Well, it's a bit like selling orphans children, I have to admit. But we're being very positive about it because it's lovely that they find new homes. We've been doing it for 45 years and children grow up and grow, but we're keeping a small selection.
And if you haven't got thousands of pounds to spend, how about this English square piano, which has a reserve of between £500 to £800? Take it away, Gary.
Tom Savides, ITV News, Goudhurst.
Gary's
Take it away, Gary. It's a rare musical instrument. Amanda Houston with the weather.
Take it away.
Take it away, Amanda. Go on.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Hello again. Well, we have seen some absolutely stunning weather across the region this afternoon, and temperatures climbed above average for the time of year. And looking ahead towards the next few days, well, we are expecting more of the same. So hazy sunshine out there. It will be turning increasingly warmer, although watch out, UV levels will be rising, so you will need to pop on that sun cream. So let's take a look at the bigger picture. We can see low pressure out towards the west here brings the risk of the odd thundery downpour as we go through the weekend. But for most of us, it will be dry, and you can see we are dragging up that very warm southeasterly air. So by Sunday, some of us could be looking at highs of 25, perhaps even up to 26 degrees. Now, for the rest of tonight, it is a dry picture out there. We have got clear skies once again, so temperatures could fall cold enough for a touch of frost in places. Although for most tonight, temperatures will stay above 3 degrees. However, it will be a bit of a nippy start to the day tomorrow, but some gorgeous sunshine will be across us. A bit of fair weather cloud bubbling up at times, but it shouldn't spoil things. For many, it's a fine and dry day. The winds will be light and temperatures will be even higher. We're looking at highs there of 19 or 20 degrees. And as I say, as we edge towards the weekend, it is going to get very warm for the time of year. Bye-bye.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather. Keeping a close eye on summer. The Pollen Count, sponsored by Ilogy Eye Drops.
Well, one of the downsides to this glorious weather is the pollen count. If you are allergic to oak and birch pollen, well, there are going to be high traces of it over the next few days. So do take care if you're out and about. Bye-bye.
And in just a moment, we have the ITV Evening News tonight with Mary Nightingale and Mark Austin.
Divya Kohli's got our late news, but for now, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thank you very much indeed for watching. Take care and take it away, Gary.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.